Very much for having me. I basically will spend a couple of minutes going through who we are, just for context, and then spend as much time as I can on the journey of Brazil. We're a chocolate and cocoa company. We're basically the #1 in the world. You'll find our products in 1 in 4, products in the world that have chocolate or cocoa in them. So we're pretty much everywhere. We have 65 sites worldwide, and we started our journey, just over 25 years ago, where Klaus Jacobs brought together our French cocoa company and our Belgian Barry Callebaut, Cacao Barry, mixed with Callebaut, to become this vertically integrated chocolate and cocoa business. We have quite some legacy, so some of our products go back 175 years, and we're listed on the stock exchange, but actually the foundation of the Jacob family owns quite a large shareholding of that. And we're HQ'd in Switzerland, but we're pretty much all around the world. Here are just some facts and figures. Again, 2.2 million tons there. I think the key thing is our sustainability journey. All of our gourmet products are now 100% sustainable. We have a forever chocolate ambition to be 100% sustainable by 2025. So all the other products that we make in the coming 3 years will be completely sustainable as well. And we're very focused on that as a company. Now to our case. So we actually started our lean journey in 2015. We have actually three sites in Brazil. We have 2 in the Bahia state, which are both cocoa factories, Ilhéus and Itabuna. And then, we have a chocolate site just an hour or so, maybe 2 hours outside Sao Paulo, depends on the traffic, where we make chocolate. So, and the interesting thing about Brazil is it's an origin country. So, we're actually working on buying and sourcing cocoa. We're working with farmers there. We're processing the product there, and of course, using that to make fantastic products for the market. So, when I think about our program there, I actually started in 2014 when our VP of the cocoa business for operations at the time had made a visit to a customer in Norway, and he'd experienced a Gemba walk with some team boards sessions along the way, and became convinced that this is how he wanted to move forward. In fact, I think he was so taken aback by that experience, partly because it was very interesting how calm and controlled and stress and conflict free, as my good friend Dirk van Akkelen would say, the environment was. And he thought, this is the way we want to go. So, when you think about certain lean programs, you think about Toyota, which is a classic one, typically they're starting with, value streaming, starting with 5S and other things. We really decided that we wanted to start with just engaging at the Gemba. We already have very, very strong values in our business. So the customer focus, understanding customer value, understanding our product, sort of entrepreneurial spirit, all these things are there. But we really wanted to engage with our employees. And so we started with Gemba walks and team boards. And then after that, we added the other ways of working as we went along. And the key thing was changing the role of leadership and creating this incredible environment where we could, engage, collaborate, and learn. And the principle really is, people solve problems, not tools. Now I know we have, there's a digital and a category for lean, and I'm sure there are some incredible AI tools out there that probably would try and prove me wrong. But when you're starting a journey like this, start with the people and go from there. So, if I was to think about what makes this journey unique, I mentioned it. We didn't start with a value stream exercise. We described the operator as the chairman of the board. In other words, our operators are actually standing in their zones against their team boards and leading meetings. And that took some practice. It took time. But the power that has is effectively what you have is, your colleagues who are closest to the product, closest to driving value for the customer, are basically asking for support and help. And it's the right environment. So you're flipping the pyramid and getting the right outcomes as a result. The other thing we did was we made a point of trying to resource most of our projects with a certain number of operators. Now, the reason for that again was, okay, we know that when you get into a project stage, depending on the complexity of the project, you might need some, more complex tools, data analysis, etc. But we just saw value with bringing everyone along the journey. And it was basically, it's not forced, right? So, it's optional. But, when I see our Brazil journey, and we're now 7 years on, it's a very high percentage of operators that are comfortable in that environment now. So, I think that really works, because now the leaders of the business are not responsible for the sustainability of our lean journey. We made some tweaks to some of the traditional ways of working and tools. So one example is, we added this selection criteria at the S1 stage, where the operator gets to decide which green tags they start with based on some criteria. Actually, there were criteria from the team board, safety, GMP, quality, etc., topics, maintenance, so that they could understand, hey, this green tag, is this a part of our zone where there's some danger? Is it difficult to operate? Does it have a big impact on quality? And so they could rank these tags in a logical way, fitting with the team board, and then own the journey. I mean, sometimes you end up with 100 green tags. And so this was a really great way for the operator to drive 5S. So it's not a management project. We also introduced something called the process-driven organization, which kind of strays into the area of pull and flow. But the idea here is we created mini factories in our plants. So you have an up and a downstream, and that sort of brings a natural customer relationship, internal customer relationship between the various inputs and outputs that go towards the end product. And that was a key driver for us, because we actually got as close as we could to one single owner for certain KPIs. But I think the one thing that I would say, and I know a number of my colleagues are on this call, I saw them join earlier, is I think this has been a talent story. I think everyone would rightly argue that being part of this in Brazil and being so successful and actually leading the way for our lean program really globally, they've been able to grow as leaders. I always say leaders basically should create leaders. They shouldn't create followers. And I think Brazil is a fantastic example of that, where our leaders have created leaders, and we've exported Brazilian talent all over the world, and in a very diverse way as well. We have many females that have also gone on to go into plant management roles, etc. So I think we have a really fantastic overall talent story. And for me, I think the Brazil team should be proudest of that, because they've really exported their knowledge and their experience from this journey. And we keep moving. So, we started very simply, and we haven't really added any complexity as such. We still have the same tools, the ways of working, but we've added a maturity assessment now, because, we want the sites to have ownership of where they are in their journey. So, they create the roadmap, they make the decisions on where they want to spend their resource to move up the levels. But now we've added this additional tool so that they can sort of rebuild. We're working on building communities. This is very powerful, especially in a highly dispersed business like ours. And we've started to invest in technology. So, we have a shop floor Gemba-centric tool called Poker. And we have we use a tool called Wonderware, which is helping us with sort of real-time data, etc. So we continue to invest in the factory of the future. So that's the story. Thank you.